Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. What I read, as the title suggests, this is a book review channel, and I come on here and I share my reading experience and books that I've been reading and books that I'd like to read because that list never ends. So today I thought I would start us off with some books that I picked up at the bookstore. I hadn't really had much about them, and they were surprisingly interesting reads. So I'll start us off with the one that's on top of the pile, which is The Good Earth by Pal S. Bach, Nobel Prize winner. I think this book is a series. I'm actually trying to find the other books that are in this series, but it's not too long, so don't be. Let me see how many pages long it is. It's around maybe 400 pages long or 350, 355 pages long, which is not too bad. Um, I would call it, I think it's historical fiction. I would refer to this as a historical fiction book. Um, it's about, well, I think the main focus is a servant girl. I feel like this is a theme because the previous book I reviewed, which is The Shadow King, also had a servant girl, but I digress. So this is about us. It starts with a servant girl. Her name is Orlan, and she works for one of these really prestigious families during that time. It's set in China, so it's a very prestigious Chinese family. She works as a servant there, and then there's a bit of explanation about how they were treated while they were there and how the different servants, the different interactions between the servants and the family. And then because someone came to look for her as a wife, she was married off to this guy who was also not so high on the class pole. So they get married, and then the book follows their journey from being impoverished to being extremely successful, and the transitions between, like, Olan, the things that she actually goes through, experiences that she has as a married woman, expectations that are shattered, and it's quite interesting to see like her evolution from servant girl to like the wife of a prosperous farmer, because that's what the husband ends up being. And we also see the transition of the husband from, I would say, a pretty decent husband, and then how money eventually changes him and the things he forces his wife to stomach in the name of being a wealthy man. We see the challenges they experience initially with like money and just class, being looked down upon because of class, and then the evolution from that to being wealthy, growing as a family, the challenges they have in their marriage, um, yeah, the challenges they have when they experience a really big drought, really persistent drought, because they were prosperous farmers. And that's basically a little bit about the book. Like I said in this channel, I don't want to give too much away, but this was a really interesting read. I do not regret buying it. I picked it up at Textbook Center. It was only 500 bob. If you're looking for a good read, an interesting read, captivating read, I would recommend The Good Earth by Palace Bach. So the next book is a self-help book. I was gifted this book by my family. It's called The Root Character by David Brooks. And I would say that this is a bunch of, they're not essays, they're short stories about actual people and what made them who they are. Like their flaws, their strengths, um, their integrity as people, and their value systems. So it goes person by person, and it analyzes basically their character. And I would say the theme of the book is like how would you like to be remembered, and how you can work towards being the person that you would like to be remembered as. It shows the disconnect between what we view as a successful life and what actually matters at the end of life. So it's quite a reflective book. Um, And it took me a while to get through this because I really wanted to take time to like understand the different characters and what the author was trying to communicate. But this I would say is probably self-help, but self-help in a with a philosophical twist. So if that's what you're into, I would recommend you pick this up. I think they got it at Textbook Center as well. I'm not sure, I'd have to ask my sis. And yeah, this I enjoyed it. It was a good surprise, a nice surprise. My last book is The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. I think she's the same author who wrote The Age of Innocence, which I'm yet to read. I keep saying I'll read it, but I'm yet to read this, to read The Age of Innocence. But I did read The House of Mirth. It's a classic. This is classic literature. So I guess I'd classify it as a novel, and it's about gosh, it's about so much. My goodness, there's so many things in this book, but there is a lady in here called Lily Bart, and she, like, her great ambition in life is to get married to a wealthy man. So she goes through guys always thinking that the next guy will be better and the next guy will be better and the next guy will be better. But the guy she's actually into is not a rich guy. So she dates wealthy men, but for some reason doesn't settle down because she always feels like she can do better. And then, she lives with sort of wealthy people and then gets into gambling and then becomes a gambling addict. So she gambles all her money away. I feel like I'm giving too much away, but she gambles all her money away and then starts to struggle. So the book highlights, I would say, misplaced priorities, misplaced loves, mental health issues come in as well, and love versus money, the love versus money dilemma. And the end is it wasn't what I expected at all, but it's quite it's quite the book. It's a book I would say is like a learning lesson type of book. But it was really interesting to read. I think I got through it probably in 3 days. The font isn't too small. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, the font isn't too small. This was really interesting, guys. But I've always been a bit of a classic literature nerd. I think I have been reading classical literature since I was in primary school, which is many, many years ago. So this is one of those classic literature books that I thoroughly enjoyed. So if you're looking for a quick read, maybe on the plane, the bus, the beach, this would be a good one. So those are my 3 books, surprisingly good reads that I would recommend. I will link them down below if I can find them in any of my favorite bookstores. It is a while back since I got these, but I'll try and find them and link them down below for you guys if you're interested in picking up any of these copies. So thank you for listening, and if you're interested in more book reviews, please subscribe down below, the big red button. It's free of charge, and yeah, stay tuned for more. Yeah. Bye.